Okay, let's unpack this. This relentless drive for more we see everywhere in business.
Mm-hmm.
Think about it. Horizon 2026, strong, efficiency program, ambition 2030.
Yeah, all those big names.
They're not just catchy phrases, are they?
Yeah.
They represent this fundamental pressure. You've got to constantly increase productivity, efficiency.
Right, and the source material is pretty clear on this. If you stand still in today's market, well, you're falling behind. You get pushed out.
It's fascinating how deeply this pursuit is like baked into everything now.
It really is. These programs, as you said, they're often badges of honor, a sign of strength, competitiveness.
Sure.
But what our sources really dig into is the flip side, the often overlooked human consequence of climbing that ladder.
Exactly. I mean, we've seen huge leaps in productivity, haven't we? Thanks to new IT, better metrics, centralized services,
Yeah.
stuff that works.
Definitely. Those things often do boost the numbers.
Yeah. Alongside those gains, there's this really worrying trend. More and more reports of burnout, mental overload. It feels like the pressure cooker at the top just vents straight down onto the workforce.
And that's where you see this potentially self-defeating cycle, right? The source points this out. Short-term productivity boosts.
Yeah.
They might get completely wiped out by the long-term fallout, high turnover, lower motivation, and, well, serious health problems from all that stress.
Right. We need to be clear on what we're talking about here. Burnout, the WHO definition. The source reminds us.
Yeah, it's a syndrome conceptualized as a result of chronic work-related stress that has not been successfully managed.
Crucially, not a disease. It's a work thing, a phenomenon linked to the job.
And that distinction is so important, isn't it? It shifts the focus. It's not about individual weakness.
Right.
It's about the work environment, the processes that shape our workdays.
And this is where the big misunderstanding often happens, according to the source. Leaders just don't connect the dots.
They don't see that the exhaustion, the mental drain often comes directly from, well, badly designed work processes.
It's like we polish every gear in the machine, but ignore the person operating it.
Exactly. And what's striking is this isn't just a big corporation thing. The source says this blind spot exists across industries, different company sizes. It's surprisingly common.
So what are we missing then in how we manage work?
Well, the source highlights this focus on the tangible bits, the steps, the outputs, and we neglect what it calls the other resources, the psychological ones like the strain from time pressure, conflict, job insecurity, and the physiological ones too, the physical toll, shift work, health risks, just physical overload.
So our mission here in this deep dive is really to look at where current process management falls short on these human factors.
Yeah, and more importantly, to explore what a more human-centered approach might actually look like.
Okay, so where do we start?
Well, first, let's give credit where it's due. Process management has come a long way. The source mentions things like Lean, Six Sigma, business reengineering.
All right, those big methodologies, Womack, Jones and Roos, Panday, Newman and Kavanaugh, Hammer and Champy, foundational stuff.
Absolutely. And technology has been massive too, hasn't it? ERP systems, the internet, cloud, blockchain, AI.
Oh, totally. It's changed everything.
Yeah.
Enabled completely new processes, like the online account opening example in the source. Modern business runs on this stuff.
Precisely. The tech infrastructure, a lot of it is there. But the blind spot, the thing the source keeps hammering home,
is neglecting those psychological and physiological resources we talked about.
Exactly. We jump on AI to make things faster, but that question, better for whom, it just doesn't get asked enough.
It's like we're obsessed with the demands on people, but we forget the resources they need. The source mentions the job demands resources model.
Like a seesaw, yeah. Demands on one side workload, pressure, resources on the other support autonomy.
And that seesaw is often way out of balance.
And what's really interesting is the potential in tech we already have. Like ChatGPT writing emails is one thing, but the source points out AI can analyze well-being. It can detect emotion in text, for instance, but we're just not using it for that in process management.
That is pretty ironic, isn't it? We use Lean Six Sigma religiously to squash defects in products, but emotional exhaustion, that's rarely treated as a critical defect in the process itself. We have the tools, just not applying them there.
And the result. The source says companies are often just flying blind. They don't actually know the mental health struggles their own people, managers included, are facing, missing a huge piece of the puzzle.
So how do we fix this? The source pushes for a real shift, doesn't it, towards this human-centered approach.
All right. Balancing productivity with genuine concern for well-being. And really thinking about these psychological factors, especially with more digitalization and AI coming in.
It means bridging that gap, doesn't it, between traditional process management and understanding how people actually behave in organizations.
Exactly. It's not just about optimizing workflow steps anymore. It's about understanding and supporting the people doing the steps.
Okay, so the source lays out some propositions. Let's start with proposition 1. Process design must be human-centric by design.
Yeah, and on the surface, that sounds like, well, obvious, right? People and culture are always mentioned in process frameworks. But the source makes a sharp distinction. We talk about the human side, but actually embedding it, especially this psychological, physiological bits, into the actual design, that's still pretty new ground.
We're good at designing for the external customer.
Customer centricity, yeah. That's a trend. Good, but not enough, the source argues.
Because we might be creating terrible experiences for our internal customers, the employees.
Exactly. So the idea is tailor-made processes. Processes that genuinely consider the workforce's needs.
And this isn't just about being nice, is it? It's about leveraging strengths.
Precisely. Simple examples from the source. Some people thrive working with people, others with numbers. Shift preferences vary wildly, that social jet lag idea.
So build the human factor in. Don't treat it like some outside variable.
That's the core of it. Which leads nicely into proposition 2. Technology use, yes, but considering employees.
Okay, so not anti-technology. We need it for productivity.
Of course. But the source stresses the intent. Is the goal just to shift people around or make them work faster?
Or can we use tech smarter?
Yes. Use it to better match tasks with people's psychological and physiological resources. Think about it.
Yeah.
If you could integrate individual preferences, mindsets, maybe even hobbies or talents into how work gets assigned, the source suggests that could really boost work quality, the whole emotional climate.
Interesting. Though you need to be careful with privacy, obviously.
Absolutely. The source acknowledges that. Balancing well-being insights with privacy is key.
Okay, and proposition 3, innovation instead of improving existing business processes. This one's provocative.
It is. It asks, are our tech advances truly simplifying employees' lives? Or are we just building faster horses instead of inventing the car?
Meaning we take an old process, maybe a clunky one,
and just automate parts of it or speed it up with tech without fundamentally rethinking how it works for the person doing it.
So productivity might go up by old metrics, but maybe human contact goes down, or individual needs get ignored even more.
Right, so the call is for real process innovation. Fundamentally reimagining workflows with people at the center, not just tweaking the edges of old ones.
But doesn't innovation itself cause stress? Change is hard.
That's a fair point, and the source tackles it. Yes, transition periods can be tough, especially if old and new run side by side for a bit.
Okay.
But it shares this really interesting finding from healthcare research. Doctors who had higher openness to change actually had a lower risk of burnout during process innovation.
Why was that?
Because the new process, in that case, was designed to give them more autonomy, more appreciation for their skills. It wasn't just change for change's sake.
So management's role is crucial there, fostering that openness, ensuring the innovation actually improves things for people.
Couldn't agree more.
Okay, let's make this concrete. The source gives this example. ABC GmbH, medium-sized company, controlling team, Johannes and Johanna.
Right. Their job is regular reporting, and on paper, the work seems split fairly. Johannes does production, sales, marketing data. Johanna does finance, IT, HR.
Both process data, both present reports.
Yeah.
Sounds okay.
But both are chronically stressed, often sick, feeling overloaded.
So they try to tech fix first, a shared database.
Yep. Sped up data processing, but didn't touch the underlying stress, so they decided to innovate the process itself.
Okay, how do they apply these human-centric ideas?
Well, first, process mining measuring activity times, standard stuff.
But then they did something interesting.
They did. They asked Johannes and Johanna to rate their feelings 0 to 100 after each task, to find the energy drainers for each of them. Proposition 1 in action.
And what did they find?
Different triggers. What stressed Johannes didn't necessarily stress Johanna, and vice versa. They made this exhaustion map, linking activities, people, and stress levels.
Wow.
Then, linking to proposition 2, they involved HR. Found out Johanna is this strong, introverted analyst, loves data, hobby is machine learning. Johannes is more the extroverted politician type debate club hobby.
They confirmed this by talking to them, presumably.
Yes. And then used AI carefully to analyze email tone. Confirmed Johanna was fine with data crunching, but anxious about presenting. Johann's the opposite.
So that fair split wasn't equitable at all, psychologically speaking.
Not even close. Which led to the redesigned Proposition 3. They totally redefined the roles.
Oh.
Implemented a push system for data collection, less chasing for individuals.
No.
Planned a workflow system considering their strengths. Johannes became responsible for stakeholder communication and presenting. Johanna focused solely on the deep data analysis.
So playing to their actual strengths and preferences.
Exactly. There was a transition, sure, but the source says motivation was high because the company actually listened and adapted to them.
And the expected result.
Better efficiency and effectiveness, higher quality analysis from Johanna, more engaging presentations from Johannes. A win-win.
That's a powerful example. Okay, so wrapping up, the source really drives home that burnout, mental health issues, they're not niche problems. They're widespread, getting worse.
And there's this urgent need to align the psychological, the physiological aspects of work with the economic demands. We can't keep treating them as separate things.
The good news, maybe, is that the source says methods and tools do exist. They can be applied.
Yes, strong methods are available, but it also calls for more research and definitely more practical action in companies. We need to actually do this.
So the future isn't choosing between ruthless optimization or some unrealistic feel-good oasis.
No, it's about finding that balance, a truly human-centered approach to managing processes.
An approach that uses technology, absolutely.
But requires a pretty significant evolution in how we even think about process management, putting people genuinely at the core.
So maybe the final thought for you, the listener, is this. Take a look at your own work. How do those processes, day in and day out, affect your well-being?
Yeah, and could a different design, a more human-centered one, lead to not just more productivity, but actually a better work experience for you?